operation as the school district.
I don't actually. I'm coming to the elementary school. Because I'm in volunteer system because I am like a debt teacher in theory right now. And I just want to make this class and has been special during that time. So I don't know that much. So I talked to my team.
I don't know if you can still hear me, but I lost audio on the live stream or on Zoom. Might be on my end. Can anybody hear me?
Okay. All right, the election results have been certified.
That's a good thing.
By me.
Okay, it's ready.
We're ready to roll. I think so, because I think everybody's here is going
Jackson will be here.
Oh, he'll be here?
Yeah, he asked, he confirmed what time the meeting was tonight, so
Okay,
I'm sure we'll see him.
maybe he should show up anytime.
He's also got illness in his family too, so if that
Okay.
won the prize, then,
Well, you never know.
yeah.
Okay, well, we'll open by doing the pledge of allegiance and Aaron, you want to lead?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Did you just want to go ahead and go down and then we'll do the superintendent evaluation presentation when it's listed?
We can do that now if you want to,
Okay.
so that then Vince can do what Vince needs to do.
Okay. We're gonna have a little deviation from the printed agenda. We're gonna go to number A3 right now, superintendent evaluation, OSBA presentation. And Vince, is he?
I am here.
Oh, good. Hi, Vince.
Good to see you, at least virtually. I'm sorry that I have to do this virtually, being a neighbor and all, but circumstances has me in Central Oregon, so I apologize. So my question for the chair is, how much time do I have with the board?
5 minutes enough?
5 minutes?
I don't know. What do you think you'll need, about 40, 45?
I mean, I could probably get it all done in 45 minutes. Yeah. And I can shorten it up if I need to, but yeah, at least 30 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, we'll try to keep it to 30 and we'll go with that.
Okay, so we'll move pretty quickly. Then I'm going to omit my slides. I have a whole slide deck that goes before the planning process for the targeted feedback survey, but I really want to, what's most important is your questions. So first, let me introduce myself. Hi, my name is Vince Adams. I'm a board development specialist with the Oregon School Boards Association. I'm also your neighbor over in Corvallis. I sit on the Corvallis board and I was elected in 2013. So I'm here with much affection for my neighbors to the west. So I could bore you and I could prattle on about superintendent evaluation, but I really want to take your questions, and then we'll just be really efficient with your time, because you're starting a board meeting at 7, and I want you folks to be able to get to bed at a reasonable time.
Okay. I wasn't here last meeting, but they did discuss it some. I don't know what the questions are, but they had some questions that couldn't be answered last time, so we'll just kind of go into that, I guess, if that works for you, because I think everybody has a broad picture of the service that you can offer and the cost of it. Is that correct?
I think so.
Okay. So I guess what would
Okay.
be remaining would be, whatever questions people have that pertain to it. So I'll just open it up for whoever wants to, if anybody has any questions.
Well, okay, I'll start. What would be the timeline in terms of from what you and OSBA can help us with? How long would the process take, probably?
Well, I mean, we're starting a little bit late, so we're going to want to move fairly swiftly. So tonight, the main purpose of the main thing that I need to get from the board tonight are the 3 standards that you want to survey on. That allows me to develop the actual survey device in SurveyMonkey, and then the other homework that I have for the board and the superintendent tonight is getting a list of respondents. So I want to contrast. So we're talking about a targeted feedback survey, not a 360 survey. We often have some confusion around that. A 360 survey is an opt-in style survey. You send it out broadly, and people can opt in to respond. The problem with that is that you're getting responses from people that may or may not have exposure or experience with the superintendent's performance to inform their, how they've done on the job. And so that's why at OSBA, we've chosen to go with this targeted feedback survey. And it's directly related to the 8 standards that's in the COSA OSBA workbook that I want to confirm that the board is using that. I see the superintendent nodding her head. So that's great. So this survey is directly aligned to the workbook, those 8 standards. And that's important because those 8 standards are evidence-based. Those are the behaviors that if a superintendent is excelling on those eight standards, then they're going to have a positive impact on student outcomes, which is everything that we're aiming at. So the targeted feedback survey is designed to backfill the board's knowledge on the superintendent's performance, particularly in those areas where we don't necessarily get to see the superintendent on the job, like doing instructional leadership or, organizational management. We get to see the superintendent in action once a month, usually. And then you probably have phone calls and text messages and emails, but we don't get to see the superintendent in action. And so we need some help from staff to round out our knowledge of how the superintendent is doing. And so that's the purpose of this. The other key thing that really distinguishes the targeted feedback survey from a 360 is that the respondents, who is chosen to respond to the survey, is developed collaboratively between the superintendent and the board. So, the primary purpose here is to help the board fully understand the performance of the superintendent, but it's also a very powerful tool for developing the superintendent as a professional. And, I'll remind the board that you are in an employer-employee relationship. And so it's incumbent on you to support the professional growth of your superintendent, which is, of course, we want to do that. We want her to be the best superintendent she possibly can be for our kids. So that's the whole idea here. So just recapping what I need from the board tonight. 1, I need the 3 standards, and I sent a worksheet, I want to say a week ago or so. So I gave you some homework ahead of time to go through and select the standards and descriptors within those standards that you want to work on, that you want to look at. And we're going to go through, I have a whole process to take us through that. And then the other piece that I need the board to start working on is thinking about who you want to respond to this survey. Now, I don't need that list tonight, but because time is short, thank you for asking. This is a roundabout way of answering your question of saying that time is short. And so the board is probably going to need to move fairly quickly on identifying those respondents so we can get this survey out. I'm assuming, when are you folks going on break?
Next, a week from Friday.
So pretty quick. So, sooner the better. The reality is we're going to have to push it out into mid-January before we close this survey, which, makes it a little tight. I'd love to get back to the board, but sometime in February, so that you folks can sit with the results of this survey and think about it and then include it in your evaluation. I'm assuming that you have to finish Susan's evaluation in March, yes? She's nodding her head, yes. So yeah, then it's going to be a pretty quick turnaround. So it's probably not going to be out very long. And I can tell you that the way we structure this is that we send in an introductory email to the folks that you select to let them know that the survey is coming. And then they'll receive the link to the survey, and then they'll receive 2 reminders before we close it out. And we get a pretty good response rate from that, usually somewhere between 66 and 75% of folks respond. So we do pretty good. So we're going to need to move fast. So I'd be looking for those respondents in the next week or 2.
And Vince, I don't think I have the information. How many respondents do you typically aim for?
Oh, it's all over the place usually. I mean, sometimes I try to keep it fairly compact. 25, 30 folks. And usually about 2/3 staff to 1/3 community, but you folks know your needs best. And Susan, who you've been working with in the community and who you'd like to hear from. So, I mean, I really leave it up to your judgment on who those respondents are to provide you that information.
So
Good question.
You're saying 30, is that 30 total and then you're expecting 20 back? Or are you saying you would like to have 30, which means we really need to put out 45?
Yeah, if you put out 45, well, I mean, you'll get, yeah, if you give out 30, it really depends. And I can tell you that it really varies from community to community, the response rate. There are some that you get 100% response rate or close to it. And then there are some where you get half, where you wouldn't expect it. It really varies quite a lot. I would say typically we get between 2/3 and 3/4 of folks responding. So no, usually I'm aiming at 30, 25 to 35 folks that you want to send it to. There's a bunch of open-ended responses. We'll talk about that here. We'll talk about the survey here in a bit.
I think for me, if the board chooses to go this direction for the survey, I think we'll find some natural breakpoints, I think, in numbers.
Okay.
Because I think there are certain pockets or certain groups that it's going to be helpful to get information from. And we may see our numbers go up or down a little bit based on a natural breakpoint in some of those groups where we won't want to miss. We won't want to say we have to cap it at 30, so we're going to take 2 of our administrators or whatever out of the mix. And so,
Okay.
If you come back with 45 names, I'm not going to tell you no. But if you get up, north of that, then I might have a little heartburn, because it just takes time to go through the open-ended responses and do the qualitative analysis, and that starts to take us out of the scope of the agreement. Yeah. Any other questions?
I have a question on your standards worksheet. Step 1 says check up to 3 standards that represent areas where the board will be receiving less information from other parts of the evaluation process. What does that mean?
So your evaluation process is comprised of, well, in this year, it's going to be comprised of 3 parts. The first part is the board's knowledge. So you're able to see and hear about the superintendent's performance. So you do have some firsthand knowledge. The second part is the superintendent's self-evaluation. So that is going to be her report on her goals. She's going to provide artifacts to you about her performance and the performance of the district. The third component is the targeted feedback survey. So, I would say most school districts do not do a targeted feedback survey every year. So they're going with 2 elements in their evaluation process.
So we would want to mark out of these 7 standards that are on here, up to 3 that we're not really familiar with then, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Or a particular area, I don't know how things have been going. If there's a particular area that you folks are interested in, community engagement seems to be a really popular topic right now coming out of the pandemic. So folks, for boards and for superintendents, everybody's feeling a little bit like they're not where they want to be with community engagement. So that seems to be one of the flavors of the year. But yeah, I would say that 1, 4, 5, and 6 are the ones that are surveyed the most.
Okay.
I'm looking over your shoulder.
Oh, that's fine.
As I was looking at this, I was thinking 1, 5, and 6 were the 3 that jumped out at me the most.
Yep. That's very typical. 1, 5, and 6 is very common.
Well, that's kind of what I had was 1, 5, and 6.
So I had marked 1, 4, and 6, 4 because of some of the responses we had gotten from last year's survey.
Okay, hold on, guys. You're getting ahead of me here. You're jumping into the selection process. Are there any more questions? I just want to pause, and then I'll get that information on which standards you're thinking about, because I have a system for that. Any other questions about superintendent evaluation, about the targeted feedback survey?
I don't have any more.
No, I don't. Does Karen have any? Is Karen on here?
She was, yes, she is.
Karen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, everything sounds good.
Sounds like Karen's doing good.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'm going to bring up my browser and I'm gonna share my screen. Hold on, I'm on a single screen, so technology is a little wonky here. Bear with me. I can do this. It's the 21st century. Okay, you should see a screen that looks like fruit salad.
Yep.
Awesome. Good. Okay. So along the side of our standards, we'll pull that text over, but I'm just going to go, Karen, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to start at the bottom. And what I want to know is, if you've done the worksheet, what are the standards that you would like to see in the surveyed for Susan? Karen, can you hear me? Oh,
Yep,
yeah, there you go.
It just takes me a minute to unmute. So I am interested in 6.
Yep.
5.
5.
And 1.
Okay, awesome. 1 comma. Oh, let me put these in order because I have to tally these up, and if I have them in order, it's a lot easier. All right, 1, 6. Aaron, you're on deck here. Here we go.
1 and 6.
1, and what was that second one?
4.
4 and 6. Got it. Joe?
I was at 1, 5, and 6.
1, 5, and 6. Chris?
I'll also do 1, 5, and 6.
1, 5, 6. And we'll talk about these descriptors too. And Rick, you get the final word.
About 4, 5, and 6.
4, 5, 6. Oh, wait, 6. Okay. So let me scroll out just a little bit and drag this down. Wait, I can do this. Here we go. All right, so 1, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 3, I have 0. 4, I have 1, 2, 2. 5, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, wait, 4. 6 of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everyone wants so. And 7 is 0. Okay. So what I'm seeing is 4, 5, and 6. Popping out here is 3 that we can do. For those of you, and this is yeah, Rick and Aaron, how do you feel about that? Letting go of standard 4?
Yeah, I'd rather go with the majority opinions, that's fine.
The other thing that I can do is for truly responsive instructional leadership and improvement. I'm trying to read it in our handbook at the same time. So if there is a way that then I can make sure that in my self-evaluation information that I pay extra attention to 4, would that be a beneficial?
That
sounds great. Yeah.
Thank you, Susan.
I think my hope too is that 4 might come across a little bit more in some of the other survey feedback we get.
I can tell you that while you're not going to get at the instructional leadership component of 4, it is cross-cutting. You'll see it show up particularly in standard 5, and it touches in standard 6 as well. So, I mean, you've looked at these standards, you know that they cut across. There's cross-cutting topics here. Thank you, Susan, for making that shift there. Okay, so this means I get to pull over standard 1. Standard 5. Standard 6. All right. Now we're going to work with each of these standards. Now you should have the standards and the descriptors in front of you on that worksheet. And so I don't have the numbers, but essentially we number these in a decimal system. So standard 1 and in descriptor 1 would be 1.1. Then we'd have 1.2 and 1.3. If you had to let go, well, there's 2 ways of doing this. Which ones do you want, and which ones are you willing to let go of and that you don't need? And so for standard 1, leads a collaborative process with the board to design or reaffirm the district mission and vision that reflects a core set of values and priorities. Is that important for the board?
Can I just ask, what is our limitation here? Are we only asking 3 questions or? Okay.
Usually I'm trying to get it down to 3 standards or 3 descriptors within each. And I think some of these have, I think 6 has 4. It does. I'm sorry, my formatting is wonky here.
5 also has 4.
So yeah. And the reason for that is that we're trying to keep the survey at 18 questions or less, and you can't see the number of questions here. These are just the descriptors, but we're trying to keep the survey short is because we don't want to have a long survey because people get tired. We don't want to have respondent fatigue. We survey our folks a lot, and so we just want to keep this the survey reasonable. So if there's certain pieces of information here that aren't crucially important, that we can let go. That makes the survey a little bit shorter, a little bit easier for our respondents. It's more likely that they'll complete the survey and give us some good feedback in the open-ended responses.
So in standard one, what I'm seeing here, I mean, if we had to lose one of them, I would probably say that would be 3. I mean, 1 and 2, I think are a little more important, because I mean, for the implementation, I think that's gonna be more obvious, to me at least, in my mind. I could be wrong.
To me, 1.1 reflects Susan's relationship with us as a board, and I don't think we need to survey
Oh,
a
okay,
targeted
well,
survey.
yeah, that's true, that's true.
And maybe I'm misinterpreting that, but that's my takeaway, is that is how Susan interacts with us as a board. So I think we can answer that question.
Yeah. So,
Well, and it's asking for areas where the board will need additional information.
you're right, okay, yeah.
So I think if we stuck with 1.2 and 1.3, as long as it's okay, keep 2 in place, I think that would be
You're right, I think
helpful.
it would be more obvious to us what number 1 is, 1.1 than 1.3. Okay, yeah, I could agree with that.
All righty. Is there any dissent on that? Everybody's good?
You know, good as far as I know. Karen,
I'm
chime in.
pausing for a minute for Karen.
Yep, no, that looks good. I agree with what Aaron said.
Awesome.
But I have a question. So say we get down to standard number 5 or 6, whichever it was, and it has more options, and we actually don't want to lose one of those. Can we go back and eliminate one from standard 1 and have fewer questions for standard 1?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay.
But you can let go of that. I think that gets us down to, I think that's only 3 questions there. So that's a really good start. Standard 5. So I'll just read through these really quickly, and you can read along with me. Develops and implements effective and collaborative systems that engage multiple and diverse stakeholder groups. That's 1.1. 1.2, engages and effectively communicates with diverse families, community partners, and other constituencies to strengthen student learning. That's that standard 4, that kind of blend with standard 4 coming in there. 5.3, cultivates relationships and partnerships with members of the business, civic, and local government in support of their advocacy for district, school, and community needs. And then the last one, 5.4, goes beyond the district and local community to advocate for students at the county, regional, and or state level.
So if we were to strike one from this section, I would prefer that it be 5.3, because I do think that most of the things that fall under 5.3 are also included under the other 3. But I'm not entirely certain. The local government component of it, of course, is very important. But that would be the one that I think.
When I was looking at it, I was thinking 5.4. And the reason is because we have OSBA to work for us, you know, and it seems to me that it would be more important for us to find out what's happening more locally than at a higher state level, because that's not, I mean, as much as we would like, you know, people work for us to try to advocate at the county, regional, state level. I think it's more important that they do it at the local level. And that's what I saw when working with that.
I think I would agree with that, just because we're sort of a small district, but I think our relationships with more local entities play a larger part in our district as opposed to the state or the county. I mean, the county, I feel like the county is basically local as far as I'm concerned. It's not that big of a county, but especially with the state, I think our relationship with more local things is more important to our success than our relationship with the state.
And we have you in Salem.
Well, I got to register as a lobbyist.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Okay, I would agree with that.
Karen, what do you think?
I also agree.
So it sounds like the board is coalescing on, if you had to let go of one of these, 5.4 would be the one that you'd let go.
Correct.
Got it. Oh,
Yes.
great. And I forgot to do this on one, but since we're on 5, we'll come back to 1. If there was an area that you wanted to emphasize in here that's a particular interest for the board or for you, Susan, what would I need to emphasize in here? And this helps me when I'm pulling themes out of the open-ended responses at the end of the survey as well. So is there a particular piece of 5 that's important about communication and community relations?
I guess I would argue for number 1, just because I think that's sort of the most all-encompassing, and I think that's what we hear about the most. Like, if she makes a decision without doing that, then we hear about it. As opposed to some of the other ones, like if she makes a decision without talking to the city manager, I don't think anyone really complains to us, but if she makes a decision without, talking to people who will affect it directly, then we usually do hear about that.
Yeah, sort of my thought also is that the 5.1 is probably the most important of the 4. Not to say the other ones aren't important, but
And for me, since we didn't go with standard 4, I think 5.2 is very important to make sure that those relationships and effective communication is happening.
Okay. And I'd kind of broaden that to say diverse engagement there on, but standard 5.1, and then just making sure that we're including everyone in our input. Does that fit, Aaron?
Yes, and if we were actually to roll back up to standard 1, that would be the standard 1. We also cover that same topic. So if we wanted to have a focus, I think that would do that.
Since we're back on standard 1, other areas of emphasis on standard 1 from board members or the superintendent? I mean, you're part of this conversation as well. It's your survey as well.
I do want to note, the screen's a little blurry to me, but I think you may have put 5.2 in that top one instead of 1.2.
Oh, I did. Thank you.
do I need better glasses?
No, it is indeed a little blurry, but
Yeah.
I know my 5s from my 1s.
Good for you.
Thanks.
So, any other areas of focus in standard 1 for board members? Okay, hearing none, I'll move on. We did 5. So the last one is standard 6, effective organizational management. Let me fix some formatting here so we can actually read this. There we go. Standard 6. So 6.1 implements equitable strategies, processes, and systems to recruit, hire, develop, and retain high-performing personnel who demonstrate a shared commitment to student success. Again, seeing that equity thread coming through. 6.2 establishes productive relationships with associations while managing labor relations and contracts effectively. 6.3 creates and maintains organizational structures that maximize the district's capacity to positively impact student learning. And then 6.4 creates comprehensive system of professional development for all staff to continuously improve and increase their leadership capacity. Okay, board, those are all really, really important. If you had to let one go, which would it be? There is no right answer here.
It's gonna sound
They're all
weird, but number 3, obviously I think that's the most important thing we do as a district, but I mean no offense when I say this, I have no idea what that means. That just sounds like gibberish a little bit, like creating and maintaining organizational structures that maximize our capacity to positively impact student learning. I feel like that's just the goal with every single thing we do in the district, so I don't know what we'd be evaluating with that. Like, I feel like every single other bullet point on this is designed as an organizational structure to maximize our capacity to positively. We hire staff to positively impact student learning. We build relationships with the state and county to positively impact student learning. We have good facilities to positively impact student learning. So I don't really understand what that point is actually saying, I guess is my, so I almost feel like then we shouldn't do it because I don't know what we get from that. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on a little rant.
No, that's good that you explained.
Yeah.
I was
Really
sort
good
of-
feedback.
That was sort of the bottom one for me too.
Yeah.
The four that were there, that was what I would consider least important, sort of because of that. It's almost
Right.
too all encompassing.
Right, like I just feel like that's more just like our mission statement as a district, so I don't really know how we, evaluate that through this one specific thing.
I really appreciate that that's your reaction to that.
Well, I'm glad you do.
No, it means that you're really, really focused on improving student outcomes, and that's good. Not every district is.
Oh, well, wow.
Just saying.
And that's why our test scores are better. Sorry, I got it.
You're okay. You're okay.
So, other responses. Sounds like we're taking a shot at 6.3. Okay, so I just want to confirm if I had to cut something out of this 6.3,
Yes.
I can hear some people talking, but I can't hear what you're saying.
I agree, 6.3.
Yeah, 6.3.
Okay, 6.3, great. And if there's an area that you'd like to emphasize and dig into or pay a little extra attention to, where would that be in standard 6? Which of these descriptors or something about these descriptors?
I think probably just sort of if you sort of generalize with the three that are left, it's having get good staff and a good working relationship with staff and good, it's all about having the best staff, both in hiring and in developing, professional development, support, labor negotiations, doing the best we can for our staff, et cetera.
Yeah, I guess I might be interested in 6.2, just because I feel like that is sort of the seed that then leads to 6.1 and 6.4 a little bit. So if we had to prioritize something, maybe the relationships with associations and labor negotiations.
Got it.
Honestly,
Okay.
if we're gonna synthesize what everyone, or what they just said, plus what I'm thinking, honestly, all three of them are very important. So.
All
creating
right.
Psychological safety in the district for employees is very important.
Aaron, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that really well. I'm sorry. Say it again.
A sense of psychological safety for all of the employees in the district is very important, and in order to do that, I think all three of those points have to be met. So.
Ooh. All right. That is what I need to build a survey. So that is one piece of our homework. So I've taken up 39 of your minutes. So do you have any questions on about who to get to respond to this? Typically, boards will send this to administrators, teaching staff, pretty much throughout, folks throughout the organization. Be sure to include your classified staff as well. And those folks that are on hourly, keep in mind that while they're on the break, they're not going to be able to respond to the survey. So we need to be mindful of that. They're not going to be checking email. So that's more of a problem for me than it is for you. But it's something that I need to be thinking about. When do I release the survey? And then the members of the community, it's really up to the superintendent and board to identify who those folks in community. Typically, we see some families included, but also community leaders, folks that have been working with the superintendent, doing collaborative work, or where there's a shared strategic initiative or something that you've been working on. I don't know who those people are, so. That would be my advice for selecting folks. And I would, if names are coming to your mind right now, either jot them down or you can just blurt them out and just capture them.
Is this something that we should maybe do in the next day or two, something like that? Maybe get a couple people together and. But I don't know if it would be efficient to do it right now.
No, and I wouldn't expect you to spend your precious meeting time strictly on this. No, sometimes boards will get a group off to the side, get a committee together. Another really efficient way to do this is board members. You can just send the chair names that come to mind, and then the chair just collects those names and then can meet with the superintendent, and then they can hammer out who the respondent list will be. That's another really efficient way to do it. So it's really one or the other. You're going to have to get a committee, or you can carve some additional meeting time, but that would put you into next month, and that's not going to work out for this survey.
So if we got the names to you on Friday, would that be soon enough?
That would be amazing. If you guys could get this turned around by Friday, I would owe you chocolate.
Okay. Well,
it would make my life a lot easier.
But what I'll ask the board to do is by Thursday evening, get the names to me, and then I'll meet with Susan on Friday, and we'll get them all compiled and then send them to Vince on Friday.
Did you want me to meet also, or do you think you and Susan can manage it? I've got nothing on Friday, so I could meet also.
Okay, yeah, no, that'll be fine.
Sure. Okay. Do we want to set a time, or we can set it?
Well, we'll set it.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out later this week, but Friday would be a good day to get all the names put together and then decipher who we want to do there. So if we can get the board members to, by Thursday evening, to send their list, that would be great.
Is that okay with you, Karen?
Sorry, it takes me a second. Yes, that works fine for me.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you.
And just to reiterate, the names you're looking for are like community leaders.
Whoever you think would be a good
Okay,
person to
okay.
send this targeted survey to, because it's gonna be targeted with these
Okay,
things that we got here that would have some knowledge of
okay,
being able to.
To a limited number of
Respond to it.
people, again, we're looking at that
Right.
30 to 40 range.
but that should be like employees and non-employees.
Absolutely.
Right, yeah, a few community leaders,
Yeah,
you
okay,
know,
okay.
whoever you think would be a good person to send it to. And if you only come up with 20 names, it's cool because somebody else may come up with 15 different
Right.
names that you don't
Yeah,
have
right.
and combine the two lists, so.
Or if we come up with, 10 minutes.
Well, yeah, what
I
do
know
you
what's
come
in
up
my
with?
head too, so.
Yeah, so, yeah, if we could do that, that would be fantastic. So I think there's one more part of business that we would need to do to finish this, and that would be, go back here to,
We put in the action item.
The number
C4,
four,
C4.
C4 would be the superintendent evaluation, the contract. Now, everybody last month had a copy of the dollar amount. So, did this conversation answer the questions that were from last week or last
I
month?
think the only hesitation was that you weren't here last month. So we
Yeah.
wanted to make sure you were here when we voted for that.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that that's all. That was
Okay.
Yeah, it seems that when you called me, that's what I was thinking. There wasn't any major concerns. It was just we wanted to hear your thoughts in person.
Okay.
That's mainly the reason.
Yeah.
That we didn't agree last month.
All right. With that being said, I would entertain a motion for C4. At this time, we'll kind of jump ahead, but then we can get Vince off of the Zoom so he can do his business that he's doing on the other side of the mountain.
I would so move that we accept that the OSBA contract for the superintendent evaluation.
I second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Wait for Karen to see if she wants to. Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
I was not planning to vote this evening, considering I am, well, just, taking pain medicine, and I felt like it's probably not a good idea to,
So we have one abstention.
Yep.
Okay.
yes, abstain.
All right. Any opposed? No. Motion passes 4 approved and 1 abstention.
All righty.
Okay, so that would take care of that. So Vince, as much as we like you, I think we'll have to say goodbye to you now.
All righty. I will be in touch with a calendar for when I'll be deploying the survey. And then in February, I'll be coming back to you with a report that'll give you all a summary of the data, and then I'll give you some themes from the open-ended responses at the end of the survey. And then you can ask me any questions that you like then as well.
Okay, and as far as I know, we will be sending you an email on Friday with a list of names.
All righty. That would be wonderful if you guys can turn it around. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Give me if possible email addresses.
Say that again.
I assume you will need email addresses if at all possible.
Yes, we do need email addresses. Yes. And if you have someone that is technology challenged, this happens from time to time, then that's fine. We can do the survey via phone as well. So we just get on the phone with them. So I've done that a few times with folks that have really bad internet connection or just aren't comfortable being online. We could do that.
I do have one quick question. I'm sorry. Is it available in other languages if needed?
We do have it in Spanish. If you'd like a version in Spanish, we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
I think we got it covered, Vince.
Okay, then I yield back to the chair. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you. I appreciate the coming over by Zoom and helping us out.
Well, I'll be there in person next time.
Okay, thanks, Vince. Have a good night.
Take care. Have a wonderful holiday. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, so get back on here. We'll go to the approval of consent agenda A12. Be willing to entertain a motion for that.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as outlined in our packet.
I'll second that.
Okay, been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Karen said she wasn't going to be
401. She was gonna what?
She wasn't going to be voting because of the medication she's on.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she sent me.
Assume an
Yeah,
extension.
she sent a text today and I forgot about that. So yeah, motion passes 4-0 with 1 abstention. Okay, approval of the agenda. I think that there's nobody objecting to the agenda. Okay. Student representative to the board oath of office. see that? Around the back here. Oh, there it is, okay. It's only part of it. All right. So I assume that
Yes,
Yes.
you win that prize. It's a repeat after me.
okay. Jackson, you'll get to repeat after me.
I thought we should stand up here. We gotta make it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, come on.
Okay, I
Jackson.
will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States,
Will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States,
the state of Oregon and the laws thereof,
the state of Oregon and the laws thereof,
and the policies of the Floma School District,
and the policies of the Florida School District,
and will discharge the duties of student representative to the Floma School District Board of Education to the best of my ability.
and will discharge the duties of student representative to the Florida School District Board of Education to the best of my ability.
Welcome aboard.
Awesome.
We now have a student representative.
Hooray, hooray.
And if I can just chime in, thank you very much for your service. And I think we all share a commitment that we need to help you succeed and mentor you at this. So please reach out to us and we will reach out to you. And I think you
Jackson
two
and I
have
met
had-
last
yeah,
week. We had a chance to sit down and have
Yeah.
some conversation and said we're gonna learn it together.
Yes, because we recognize you're also the first one to ever do this, so no, there's not a roadmap to follow or an expectation. We're figuring it out together, so we thank you for being willing to do this, and we look forward to perfecting the role moving forward, anything that we can do to make sure that it's successful, so thanks for
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's even new to us old guys, so. Okay, moving right along, the A3 we've already taken care of. A4, Joe, did you have something?
No, I was just pointing.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for your patience.
Yes.
And you learned more than you wanted to know about
I learned all kinds of things
evaluation.
tonight. You never know.
So I better include her name on the list.
Put me down. I'll do my best of my ability.
All right.
I'm also here. If you need help, Jackson, just putting that out there. You always know. I've done a couple of these. I've talked to Chris lots of times. As far as ASB goes, winter's a pretty relaxed time. We have our Winter Spirit Week this week. We just haven't been out all the schools with varied days based on the age group. But for the high school, today was Fall Flannel Day, so I put that on. Tomorrow was supposed to be Christmas cards, /family pictures, but because of our sewage problem, our school day is canceled. Wednesday is New Year's Eve party, Thursday is ski trip, and Friday is night before Christmas, which is pajamas. We have a winter dance that the theme right now, at least, is Winter Woodland, and that's on January 14th. I think tickets are gonna be $10, but we'll working on that a little bit. The floor plunge is February 18th, it's on Saturday. I will have more information at the January meeting about our team and signups.
What day did you say?
February 18th.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Dance is the 14th.
And dance is the 14th. Yeah. January 14th.
Yes, not
Yeah.
February 14th. That's a different thing.
That'd be a very big confusion.
Yeah.
Other than that, ASB is even a 10 right now. We did get really good feedback from our deck the halls. We had our classes last Friday, decorate hallways. Seniors embarrassingly did not have a great showing, but it really got our students engaged. And then we'll have, during basketball games, we have halftime hoop shoot, which is you pay $1 to 3-pointer. Whether you make it or not, that's up to you. You guys are more than welcome to participate if you'd like. And then that money goes to both Color Plunge and our unified basketball team, which I'm a member of, and we start practicing January. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, everybody.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
The dance in January,
Yes.
you said it was a dance. Is that what they used to call the winter formal?
Yes,
Or
it
is it still
is the
called the
winter
winter formal?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. I just didn't hear you call it winter formal. It was a dance, but I didn't know if that.
Yeah, we're trying to make it less fancy just because the equitability. I know not all of our students can afford the big fancy get up every time we do a dance. So we're
Yeah.
trying to make this one more relaxed and not so like get all dolled up.
Okay, I just want to make sure it was the same.
Yeah, it is the same.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, no problem.
And
Thank
we're
you.
doing our report for that the same way we did homecoming, 2 representatives. And we did our initial vote today, and we will continue doing voting up until the week of the dance.
Do you have any assemblies coming up?
Not that I know of, we might do an MLK Day one. We're on the fence trying to get a good speaker as part for that one. Other than that, we'll have a winter sport update, assembly, maybe in late January, or all more information on that in January.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you guys, have a great night.
Thank you so much.
Have a good holiday.
Yeah, you too.
Drive safe.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any public comment?
That's me.
None tonight. Okay. Reports. We'll go into association reports. PEA.
No report.
No report. OSEA. Not here. I don't see them, so we'll pass that. Advisory committee reports. Special Education Advisory Committee.
And neither of the two are representatives.
Okay. Oh, either the emerging bilingual advisory, they're not, okay. Well, I guess we'll get down to the superintendent's report then,
All right.
which she gave to the board in a printed version tonight.
Yeah, I've got it, and I'll display it, but I thought it might be easier for you to follow with the events of what transpired today, of which you heard some of. It's been quite an afternoon, let me tell you. So I started out with the notion of school attendance and the respiratory viruses and all those things that are continuing to hit us. Kings Valley closed down last week. They had 35% of their students absent last Monday. They took school off on Tuesday, had their one bus driver that didn't have a fever deliver Chromebooks to their older students, and they did a modified distance learning for the remainder of the week, and they are back as of today. This morning we got word that Logic was down 60% of their kids, so 16 students out of 27 were absent. And so we postponed their concert, which was scheduled for tomorrow night, which it's never as much fun to have it in January, but at least we'll get to have it. And by the end of the day today, because we had decided to keep the school open, and they were getting enough phone calls from families and community members saying, with this many kids gone and we're getting sick and the connection of everybody, can we rethink what we're doing about school? And so we chose to close Logic down for the remainder of the week. They have enough instructional minutes that those days don't need to be made up. And so what we've done is we are shuffling staff, if you will. So their instructional assistant right now is sick. If she gets healthy before the end of the week, we will move her into a school in town to be able to work for the rest of the week. And then the 2 teachers, they'll continue to have their expected prep time and their lunch periods. They are also being available for substituting within the district to be able to help out with the teacher corps, of which we've had a lot of people sick.
Are you doing any remote learning with the budget kids or?
No, we just decided with the amount of instructional minutes they have and the time that it is before the break, that in order to get Chromebooks out to kids, because we made the decision after school,
Gotcha.
they would technically have work to do Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, but Friday's, more of the movie day and all kinds of things like that, but we just felt like it wouldn't be robust enough to be able to make that kind of a difference. So we just chose to do that. So we've got activities for those teachers who have willingly said, yes, we'll come in and we will do. There are 2 schools that have lots of IEP meetings during the day tomorrow and Wednesday. And so they will be ones that will help cover for those meetings in teachers' classrooms and some things like that. So we're maximizing the use of their time instead of saying you get 4 days off. And, we'll see. They're just kind of on standby as needed, and they'll still be able to get some things done as they need. The other big surprise today was Philomath High School and concerns that came to us early this afternoon about the sewer. And we've known, those of us on the long-term facilities committee, that there's been an issue that we were hoping we could limp to spring or summer to be able to take care of business. And Now we're looking at what's the short term, what's the long-term solution. But we also didn't want to get ourselves in a position, there is no raw sewage in the school. There was never a concern about that today, thank goodness. But wanted to be able to take care of business before we put students and staff in harm's way. So we are closing the high school and Philomath Academy tomorrow, and plan to be open on Wednesday. We have a sewer service who's going to come in and help take care of some of the pieces of what needs to be done. And the intent of that is to get us through, if not longer, at least through the days before winter break with no issue. And so again, we have taken that day and we have asked our licensed staff to plan for office hours for their students in a location that can be other than school, just because there's no restroom facilities available. The water's going to be out of commission, so we don't want a whole lot of people hanging out at the school. Because we also don't plan to make up that day at the high school. We are asking that's why we're asking the teacher corps to work. That's also why we're going to ask our instructional assistant corps to either help out and work in another school, because we've had a lot of instructional assistant absences and shortages. And so if you can get your hours by working in another place for another day, for this day, you can choose to take leave if you want to on that day. And so we're giving people some options because the day won't be made up. Normally on a snow day, everybody goes home and the day is made up at another point in time in the year. Because we're not going to make this one up, we need to offer the opportunity for people to fulfill their work on that day. So all that information has gone out. In the course of the afternoon, this was a pretty hopping place to be able to make sure that we had all the bases covered. So, Tony Mott, I had conversations with OSAA because there's a home swimming tomorrow. And the typical is you don't go to school, you don't do athletic competitions. And this was one that it was kind of like, it's not a weather related thing. It's one of those that we can allow to happen. So depending upon where we are tomorrow about noontime, if everything's all set up and done, then the swim meet will go on as it needs to be. So it's unfortunate, but we're dealing with it in a positive health and safety way.
Can I
ask
ask a question on that topic?
Yep.
Do we know what the problem is, or do we just have the idea that we discussed at the facilities meeting, when we went out and kind of generalized what needs to be done, or do they know exactly where the problem is now?
They don't know exactly, but it's the assumption based on what we had talked about. The city came out and weren't able to clear the line. Okay. And so once the city was unable to get through and clear the line, because their concern is that the pipes that there had been pipes that had collapsed, and they didn't want to break. I'm so technical. They didn't want to break their machinery in trying to make sure that they could go through it. And so by getting the septic folks out there tomorrow, there will be a chance to dig in a little bit. And the other part of it is, if they have the plan right now is at minimum they are going to clear all the sewer lines and haul whatever away they need to. And if they're able to get deeper in to solve the problem, they will. Okay. So it's kind of it may be a short term, but it may turn into a longer term fix over winter break. We just don't know at this point.
Okay, then my next question, they have, and the only reason I know this is because I volunteered to work at the 21st. They have the Benton County Championships wrestling at the high school. So how is this going to affect that, or is it going to affect that?
Right now, we don't think so, because we looked at the athletic schedules for this week.
Yeah.
And aside from the 2 swim meets, basketball is away. There's a couple of award recognitions for families that can be moved to other schools. A concert that we could either have at the high school or move to another school if we needed to. Okay. But right now, we don't anticipate it's going to affect any of those sorts of activities.
Well, my biggest concern is the number of people that would be there.
Yes.
Because it's a county-wide.
And that's during winter break.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're kind of thinking that we're gonna have that at least short-term fix in being able to have things. So we're just really looking at this week and making sure we've got this week. We've moved a couple of porta potties already up closer to the school, and if we need to do some other things there. But it sounded like from tomorrow, there were some things that could be taken care of that would give us some reprieve.
Okay.
I
So,
believe there is also a cheer competition being hosted at the high school on Saturday,
this coming,
the 17th, yes.
okay,
It is their major fundraiser to finish getting their competition mats, so. I just double checked, it's still on the cheer calendar. I didn't see it on the high school calendar though, so I could be wrong, they may have moved the date.
okay. And I will look at that because we're watching for what's coming up to make sure that, I mean, because we talked about today moving practices, basketball
Yeah.
practices.
And this would be one of those things that it's like a tournament.
Right, but by the time-
Students and family.
Right, by the time we knew this afternoon, the middle school girls had games scheduled that would take the middle school and the elementary school, and the traveling team was probably already on their way. And so we couldn't adjust that, but I appreciate that kind of information so that we can make sure that we're checking on those things and taking care of business, so.
I just had a question about the office hour plan.
Yeah,
Are those in-person meetings?
for the office,
For the
Like,
staff.
for the staff, no,
Okay.
they'll be Zoomed or Google Chat
Okay.
or the connections through Canvas where students can email staff
Yeah, okay.
and share information in that way. So there'll be a couple of possibilities
Okay,
for being able to have students reach out.
okay,
We figured for the sake of a day,
yeah, right,
that we didn't want to push for a lot of people being in and out
right.
and shifting things like that. So, good question.
Okay, well, I apologize for
No,
interrupting.
no,
your report.
I'm really glad you did, because it's, I mean, I put out something at the end of the day today that just said, to all the administrators, that said, tell me if I'm wrong and if I'm missing something, because it was, did you contact the bus company? And so we made sure we contacted the bus company and food service, and somebody said, well, we've got special educators that come in from different places to different schools. Have they been contacted? Have we thought about this person? Have we thought about that person? So it's all those kinds of things that it's real easy to miss something. So it's really good to know. So thank you. Synergy, we had our first formal kickoff meeting. We're going to do monthly meetings with our team. We feel real good about where we are. LVL is being highly supportive, and it just feels good about being able to have a plan. It's the time of year to start putting out information about state assessment, so we put the annual notice that we're required to do on the webpage today. And what that does is that talks to families about the opt-out possibilities. And those will also be sent after the first of the year to families from all of our schools that will be the individual opt-outs if people want to take advantage of that. And so that's just making sure that we have information available. I provided to the board also some legislative updates, one of which is with the redistricting, our new representative and senator. So instead of Dan Rayfield, our House representative will be David Gombard. Instead of Sarah Gelser-Bluen, our senator will be Dick Anderson. We're aligned more with the coast than we are with the Valley and Corvallis. And so I'm working to reach out to those individuals and get to know them and meet them. I've met Representative Gombard in a couple of situations before, and it's just being able to get in front of him. We talked about in the first budget meeting and also at some meetings I've been a part of that the Oregon governor doesn't have to have the budget out until the 1st of February. And the current projected information suggests $9.5 billion for education funding for the next biennium. As we look at it as a group of superintendents and business managers across the state, the push is to say, that would flat fund us, and so there would be no gain at all. And so we would have the same amount of money to do the same things that we've been doing this year. And so that does not bode well for us. It doesn't bode well for a lot of people across the state. And so the advocacy is to really look at least 10.3 for education funding in order to be able to have a hold The reason we're putting out that information and sharing it quite widely is this is the first year in a long time education hasn't been at the top of the rung of issues in the state. And so when we start talking about what's important in the legislative session, we're getting a lot of the homeless population, houselessness in general, you know, a whole myriad of things of which education isn't in that upper tier. And so it asks us to be able to reach out and have those conversations earlier and individually to be able to make sure that the education agenda stays on the radar of this assembly. So that's why that information is there.
I have
Yeah.
one question for you, go on to technology. I know in the past, Willamette has been kind of split on the representatives.
Yep.
Because we've had a different representative, what Willamette has had in Kings Valley.
Right.
Does this redistricting put the district under one representative and one senator?
I think it does.
It does.
Okay.
Okay.
The man that knows, I
There
love it.
might be a tiny sliver, because we have like 16 people that live in Polk County that are in our district that might be in a separate legislative district,
Yeah,
but everyone in Benton County in our
everybody in
district
Benton
should
County
be the
has
same.
got the same
Yeah.
representative.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. 'Cause
Not
I know that.
everyone in Benton County has the same representative, because Corvallis.
Well, I
But
know,
that-
but
yeah.
everybody in the Flow Street.
Everyone west of like Starker Forest headquarters has the same representative
Yeah.
all the way to the ocean.
Yeah, because I know before, like you said, we had
Right,
a different
right.
representative
Yeah.
Flow did
Yeah.
before, and it got
Yeah.
kind of confusing to try to touch base
It
with
gets
the correct
messy.
people.
Yeah, it gets messy.
So, okay,
Good
that's
question.
all that I have.
Technology was just the notion of, we've worked with LBL this year and contracted through Tier 2 funds for cybersecurity support. And it's been very good for us to be able to do. And actually the superintendent's moved it into a Tier 1 service to be provided into the future by LBL. And as we look more at cybersecurity concerns across all levels of business, this has just made, I mean, it's really for us a no-brainer to be able to have support as we look at people breaching into our security and school districts are places that folks are trying hard to get at. And so I feel real good about that. The other technology part of it, we're going to have budgets information coming back, but I had put out information that our staffing needs are changing. We weren't in the right space to hire for a systems administrator when Jennifer Kessel left. It's the wrong time of the year to ask for school employees. And so we had decided to contract remotely with Stephen Boone, who was one of our technology employees here. Sadly, he passed away last week suddenly from a quick illness. And so that has rocked a lot of people in the district. Kudos to a lot of people for what they've done to be supportive. Kudos to the high school who put out the opportunity last Friday afternoon for people to share video messages with his wife Katie and their son Zeke. And people have continued to be in touch, but it's just the knowledge that it's an important person that kind of changed the world a little bit, and that shuffles a little bit about what's happening with technology. Mark Neville has really stepped up. And we're going to make it happen, and LBL has been a great support. I mean, they just continue to say what you need, we will help you with. And so it's been really awesome. For professional learning, just a shout out, student services with LBL put together a professional learning session last Friday for the first time in a long time for our classified staff. And there were probably 40 people in this room. Talking about behavior, yeah, it was tight, talking about student behavior, and it will be the first of more for our classified staff, and it was really an awesome opportunity to see people get together. Our equity committee has gotten together. Last year we were stymied and didn't get together at all for a variety of reasons. We met on December 5th. We plan to continue meeting throughout the course of the year. I got a chance right on the heels of that last week to go to the COSA Equity Academy that was this time presented by the Oregon Center for Educational Equity. It was awesome. I have some good information to bring back to our team. It just kind of reaffirms our work and what we're doing. COVID vaccine clinic this Friday. It's the last one we have scheduled. And we'll see what they have in vaccines and in need come January. And if they need to schedule more, we will. So no updates on the traffic safety. I did put, that was good. I did put in, like I had said I would do before, the information about the board goals versus the superintendent goals. I don't know that we need to talk about them necessarily tonight, but it was the way of taking, Aaron, the work that you had done and the suggestions and mirroring them to the superintendent goals, just for future conversation to make sure we have the intent right. Like I said, I don't think we need to belabor that tonight, but it's something to look at that was put together. The other thing that is another that we want to look at spending time with, the last time we met, there has been a lot of questions surfacing as we look at the high school schedule. And so following some meetings in the fall, there was really a lot of questions about what are the advantages and disadvantages, why does this group like this and why does this group like that, and let's learn a little more about what it means. And so the request was really to put together, and I think it's a good idea, to schedule a work session in the first of the year to just look at educating and informing on both sides of the issue, so that we, what we will need to do if the board chooses to move forward is to set a time to be able to hold something like that and be able to entertain a look at both sides of the story, to be able to just get information. So that was lengthy, I apologize, but that's the report.
Okay, I have a request on the work session.
Okay.
Is if you can get some dates from PEA and other people involved.
Yep.
That they could meet in January.
Okay.
And then we can kind of run it by the board and see if it is available for the board to have a work session at that time.
Okay, I can do that.
Because that'll get the process started.
Yep, I will do that.
Okay.
Other questions?
At the beginning of the school year, there was a lot of talk about the new updated COVID response plan, and I remember a question had come up if there was a specific parameter around when change would occur with illness rates. I don't know if everyone is aware, but right now all of our local hospitals have reached such high capacity that they're, it's very serious. They actually have more people in the hospitals right now than they did during the absolute peak of COVID. And these people are very, very sick. So I was wondering if we have more of an answer on what that looks like with emerging pathogens right now in the district. Obviously, we can't only say COVID because it's three things right now that are hitting our area. But I did have a question about whether there would be any changes to what's happening. Obviously, we're about to go on break. January is not looking to be much better than December is. So I just didn't know if you had any thoughts or additional information around that.
We reached out to Benton County Health Department last week with Kings Valley because we were above a 30% absence rate. And the county said, it's your call about what you want to do. And so, and then came back to us and said, because your attendance is over 30%, can you give us data? Which was kind of like, okay, we're going to make our own decision, but if it's over this value, you want our data. So it's been kind of mixed message in that. At the last week, we had a superintendent's meeting where we heard from Dean Seidlinger, the state epidemiologist, who said they are starting to see cases of COVID's going up, but they're starting to see some of the other respiratory infections leveling, not necessarily declining, and they anticipate once it starts going down a more rapid decline. And so, but that's what we watch. I mean, because winter break could wipe us out, or it could be the best thing in the world for people to get a break. And so for this week, we've just instituted the common protocols. We're watching this week for what are the attendance in schools, including staff and including substitutes. So if we don't have enough substitutes, when do we need to just close the doors and say we're done through winter break? And so That's been a watch constantly. Once we get back in the first of the year and get the pieces of where are we at in terms of hospitalizations, infection rates, attendance for kids, because we'll take in that first week back and we'll just monitor attendance rates every day to be able to say we're in the same space we're in now, we're better or we're worse, and then we'll be able to make moves from there.
My big concern is we don't have pediatric hospitals in this
Yes.
area, and OHSU's pediatrics hospital has been on crisis of care
It's
divert
stuffed.
since the end of November, which means that they can and unfortunately have to turn away people and cannot treat them. So that will always be a concern for me.
Right, well, we've also heard about individuals that are going to local hospitals, and I say that not just here, but in many places, that after 4 hours of a wait in the emergency rooms, I don't care how sick I am, I'm going home. And then nobody gets tested, nobody gets treated, and it just gets that much worse. And so I think the decision to close Blodgett today was a good decision. And being able to, the other thing is I talked to one of our nurses, Nurse Laura Bryant, and she said, I've got some parents calling me, telling me that, we want to go visit grandma for our winter holiday, and we don't want our kids to get sick. Will they be excused if we keep them home during this week? And I told her, I said, well, we got to give some leeway on this one, because we've got to be able to, or kids are sick and they want them to get better before they go to grandma's. It's kind of like, yeah, if kids are sick, let's keep them home. This week of one, which I know students and families get upset if we have to cancel concerts and things like that, but it's actually a better time, if you could call it that, when we're thinking about sugar plums more than we're thinking about Mountfacts. I've used that a lot. Because of different celebrations and holiday distractions that we've got that are good, but it's a little different than the mirror focus, which we'll want to get back to in January, that if we have to close some things down, then we need to close some things down. Thank you for the question.
Before the financial report, Jennifer, you're up.
Yay. So thank you to those that could come to the budget committee informational meeting. There was a few people there, and a few of the applicants for the budget committee were there, which was nice. They got some information. I sent out links to the resources that we talked about to everybody in the committee, so hopefully if you wanted to look at that, you could. And then we will hopefully appoint a new budget committee member tonight. It'll be great.
And it's just one.
We just need one, there's one vacancy. Yep. And then I will have the budget preparation calendar ready for your approval in January. We decided to push out the first work session to March instead of February, since the governor's budget won't be available until the 1st of February. So that will give us some time to evaluate what that looks like before we give anything to the budget committee. Some other pieces, enrollment looks like it's holding pretty steady for the district over the last month. We'll see what happens when we return from break. Hopefully it stays consistent for us. I did submit our an updated estimate of membership revenue to the state school fund calculations with increased enrollment from what we budgeted at last year or this year. So that increased our state school fund allotment a bit for the year, which helped out with our revenues. And with the increase in local option levy that we didn't anticipate, we're back up to where we're not worried about falling into the board contingency piece. So that was good news when I pulled some projections for this month. Okay. And then the audit, our auditors said that they will be finished with the audit this week and have the draft document to me to review, get back to them, and then they will be here for a presentation in February, and they can't make the January meeting. So they'll be here, they're on schedule for February. I think that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
I just had a question on page 2 of your report. For the Columbia Bus Company, for October, this is 88,912.
Oh,
Is that just a, okay.
yeah, there's too many twos. I'm sorry.
I was hoping it was just a, not that the comma was in the wrong place. Wait, oh, the 889,000, yeah.
No, there was an extra two.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no more questions? We'll move on to number C, discussion and action items, appoint a budget committee member. So we will, has everybody had a chance to look at all of the applications? Okay.
Oh, I read them a while ago, but it was
Well, I read them a while ago, and then I had to come back and look at them again tonight. You're not the only one that does that. So, I guess how we would want to do this is, everybody, I guess, would just throw out their first choice. And if they have a majority, then I guess we'll go through 4 and see how many board members they get as a vote, and then we'll decide on that.
Did Karen want to be involved in this?
I don't know if she wants to be, Karen, did you hear that question?
I did. I still think it's probably inappropriate for me to be involved in any sort of voting at this meeting.
Okay, just want to know, just.
Damn, what did they give you, Garen?
You completely replace an entire meeting.
Fine.
Yeah. So, okay, I guess what we'll do is, I'll just say the name of the person and we can see how many votes they get, and then we'll go to number 2. They're not in any particular order other than they're just in the order that they're in our board packet, so.
Sorry, Chris.
Well, can you give us a reminder who's currently on the budget committee? Or I just apologize for missing. I was out of town.
Let me pull that.
Okay.
Apart from the board, we've got,
Craig McDaniel, thank you. Jim Lopez,
Carol Leach,
Carol Leach, and Shelley Brown.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Want to make sure I remember one.
see, I can see Craig McDaniel's face as soon as I open my mouth now, and I can't think of his name.
And he was the one that was reappointed.
Yes.
And it expires 2025. The other 3, Carol, Shelley, and Kim, they expired at the end of this 2023.
At the end of this fiscal year. Yeah.
So, okay, so we're gonna have to do this again next meeting. Could we carry whoever we don't pick tonight over to the next meeting if they're into it?
We can do that in
Or-
the end of the fiscal
2020.
Oh, right, sorry, this is
Sorry.
the school district.
Yeah.
Yes.
The fiscal year for the school district, yeah, that's, we
Yeah,
gotta
go.
put that all
All
together.
right. Okay, let me just.
Just do it.
Okay, that works. That works. I'm good, I'm good.
Are you just gonna call names and then we'll?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does anybody want to speak to a person first, or do you want to just go with a roll call?
I
Is
guess,
that standard process to do that?
I don't know.
or-
I don't know what the standard process is, but I'll just,
Well, I'll say candidate Wolford has shown a tremendous amount of interest in being of service to the school district. There is a name change listed there, so if you don't recognize that name, this person has run for school board,
Yeah.
twice now, actually.
Oh, okay.
When Christopher, was
Yeah.
appointed, I don't know if that's officially run, I mean,
It has gone out.
yes.
Yes.
and so I just wanted to raise the name change in case the name wasn't, I know it's listed there, but, that might help put a face to a name for everyone.
Okay, so, anybody that would like to vote for Woodruff Wolford? 2, 3? Okay. What's that?
Do you only want us voting once, or are we gonna do more than one vote? How are we?
Well, I'll just go down because I don't know if you can vote for as many people as you want, I suppose.
Okay.
Lori Lehman?
If I can vote for as many people that want, I can vote for everyone.
I always hate to not, somebody that wants to volunteer their time and help,
Right.
you know. I think these are all, just based on what I saw at the meeting the other day and their applications, they all seem to be reasonably strong candidates.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love Nick's involvement at the meeting the other day. I know Lori, isn't her husband on city council?
City council.
Yeah, so I mean, there's connections there in the community. I don't know the fourth person. Sandy Herring, I'm not familiar with her,
Okay, so there was nobody that wanted to vote for Lori then? Or do you want?
I think everybody did, but.
Well, yeah.
if I was to rank voting, she
Right.
would probably be, well, second or third, I don't know, she and Nick were both just, they're strong candidates, I don't know, it just.
Nicholas Carter. Okay. And Sandy Herring. I'll just throw this out there with Sandy. I've known Sandy a long time through the 4-H program. A wonderful person. She's spent a lot of time volunteering in the 4-H program. Now that she's retired, she has time to volunteer for the school district. She's volunteered for other things, you know, with the frolic and whatnot. So, I mean, she has a good background in volunteering and wanting to volunteer, but she hasn't had the time before. So now she has the time. So now she wants to volunteer for the district. She has no kids in the district anymore. She had kids go through the district. So, anybody want to vote for Sandy? Okay, well, I mean, it's kind of a moot point at this point,
Right.
because,
Now, just one question on the budget committee. Public can attend our budget committee meetings, right?
Yeah.
So even if they do not get picked, they can attend and they can give public comment, even though they wouldn't be voting members.
right.
Didn't we also
And
have
we
an
did-
alternate?
We had an alternate last year.
And we
You
can
know,
do that.
and we could still do that if we wanted to do that now. It'd be the board's choice if we wanted to say, okay, you know, we want Woodruff Wolford to actually take the seat that's available, but we offer a alternate position to whoever.
Okay.
So, I mean, I would be willing to entertain something like that so that if we have somebody who for some unforeseen reason has to leave the budget committee, we have somebody we can just go ahead and put up in that position if we need to. So I would like to have an alternate.
I think that's very important to have. So I would like to move that we vote to approve Woodrow Wolford to the budget committee.
Yep.
And then I'll make another motion in a second after we do that, because they have to be two separate.
Anybody
motions,
want to
right?
second that?
I'll second that.
Okay, been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Okay, motion passes 4-0 with 1 abstention.
And then if you'll entertain it, I would like to make a motion that we approve Sandy Herring as an alternate to the budget committee.
I would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded for Sandy Herring to be the alternate to the budget committee. All those in favor? Motion passes 4-0 with 1 abstention. So congratulations to those 2 people.
And for all of the candidates, again,
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
the fact that we can get 4 people applying for a single volunteer position is amazing.
It's nice to have a nice pool of qualified people that, you know, we think are good people to put into that position that would do a good job for the district, so.
Yes, and I mean, just for the record, the only reason I voted for candidate Wolford was just because they clearly demonstrated a desire to serve the district, and I think, you know, that's very important. But we should not ignore that. But I would love to see the remaining candidates come back and we have a few more seats open.
Yeah, well, there'll be 2 positions come open the end of this fiscal year, so.
Yeah.
And at some point, there will be school,
there are 3?
there will be school board
Okay.
positions open.
There will be. Pretty soon.
So they will all reapply.
Yes.
So, okay. Moving on to C2, the OSBA elections. And Susan has a paper right here, if somebody wants to look at that, where they can look at their.
There were 2, well, first of all, OSBA resolutions, it's the adopting the proposed OSBA legislative priorities and principles. And then there were 2 individuals that are running for the Board of Directors position 10 for OSBA. One of them is Miriam Cummins, who is one of the board members for LBL, and the other is Jason Curtis, who is a board member in the Central Lynn School District. I know Miriam, I don't know Jason.
And as a board, what are we supposed to do?
The request for us has been, if we choose to vote for a director, our choice of director for the position 10, and also to approve or not the proposed OSBA legislative priorities and principles. And I think, Michelle, you put those in the packet, did you not? Yeah.
So the first one I would entertain a motion on is the resolution. And if anybody's interested in making a motion on that, fine. If not, we'll pass to the next part of it.
What is there any advantage or disadvantage for us to approve or not?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, I had no
It's
problem. I had no problem with the resolution. Nothing jumped out at me as being.
Well, I'll throw this out there. I don't like approving resolutions just to approve a resolution. If it's something that has some teeth to it or something, yeah, it's one thing, but just to vote for a resolution, just to be voting for it, I'm not really in favor of doing those kind of things, so.
And it's up to you guys.
Well, I wasn't looking at you, I was just
No,
looking in general that, so if we don't want to vote on this, we don't have to. What's that?
Did they indicate what the change is from what the what it formerly was?
I don't have any idea.
I don't know what it
Because I didn't see
was.
anything in the packet explaining any changes.
I would just say from my professional experience, they probably just want us to do this so that when they meet with legislators, they can say 128 school boards across Oregon have voted to,
Yeah.
Endorse.
Yeah, so like, it could be 127.
I mean, so much.
So it might help them.
Many of the things in here seem reasonable. The one that jumped out at me, of course, was promote adequate, predictable, and stable funding. The idea of having somebody pushing for, as we talked about before, more education funding rather than being flat funded. And, anything that we could do to potentially help that. This may or may not do that at all, but I don't see any reason it would hurt to vote for it, and it might help.
No, but I don't see a lot of advantages to it, because it's not there's nothing that says that they have to.
Oh, I know, yeah, again, it's, as you say, it's.
Yeah, I think Christopher's message is right, that it's really about their power and authority to be able to say, look at all the districts that endorse.
And so when they meet with like Representative Gomberg, being like, look at these districts in your district that, this matters to your constituents and everything.
Yeah.
But
Well, even if the guy doesn't vote or a person doesn't vote in favor of it, doesn't mean that they're not in favor of.
right, it's just.
What it said is just that, their way of saying things is just that, hey, not gonna make a whole lot of difference, except for just like what he said, you can add it to the list of, instead of, 127, it'd be 128, that, back to resolution, so.
And so they actually want us to vote on this though?
Yeah, that's the request. Because it's a part of their election and their process.
I mean, I have no problem voting on it. I didn't see anything in there that made me look at it with any sort of question. I just wasn't sure if this was a language change or if this is just us saying that we continue to support these. I have a feeling that there was a language change on page 2 of it, or 3, excuse me, on some of the one right above that. I have a feeling, just because language has changed in what these things are called. And how, how the state labels them. I have a feeling that's probably what most of the change is. But I do personally think it's important for OSBA to be able to say, yes, this school district also supports us, especially if they're speaking on our behalf. It's nice for us to show our support. So I would move that we vote on this as it's shown in our packet. I don't know where it is. The OSBA resolution. It's beginning on page 47. Thank you, Chris.
So sorry, did you make a move?
You did make a motion?
Okay. I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. So all those in favor of the resolution, signify by aye.
Aye.
Nays? Motion passes 3-1. So, and 1 abstention. Can't forget the abstention. So, but it's not that I'm against the resolution, it's just that I don't see a lot of.
You think it may not have much value.
Yeah, so,
I can understand that, absolutely.
okay.
Why we have multiple opinions
Now
and multiple
then,
stances.
let's see, how do we?
There's 2 candidates. If we choose to vote for one of them,
Yeah,
just discussion right now, is that okay?
Yeah.
Based on what I looked at from the applications, Miriam seemed a stronger candidate than Jason. So if we were going to vote for a candidate, that's who I would put up. That would be my preference would be Miriam over Jason Curtis. Just based on the paperwork, and then Susan also says she knows her.
So are you making a motion then, or?
I'll wait for discussion, but then I will. Oh, I can move it now. I move that we vote for Miriam Cummins as an OSBA board member.
I second that.
okay, been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of Miriam? Opposed? Motion passes 4-0 with 1 abstain. The next one. Oh, that's right. Okay. Second reading on the policies. We'll go with GBEA.
That was the
workplace harassment. Okay.
Anything we need to be made aware of? Nothing. There was a couple of handwritten changes in there.
Yeah, indicating where we had to choose brackets, which one we
Right.
chose.
Now, this went through the policy committee,
Yes, all of
and
these
then
have gone through. the
that's why
policy.
these are the second readings?
Mhm.
Okay. And the policy committee didn't have any red flags on this one?
No, not for these. We actually held out a couple because we're waiting, that aren't listed here that we went through, that we're waiting on information from other parties to be able to make sure we're on the right track. So we only put those ones in that we had real clear.
Okay,
Because I looked through all of them, it's cursory, I didn't read every word for word, but nothing jumped out at me as being a problem.
okay, so I will entertain a motion for policy GBEA.
Do we want to just do them all as a group, or do you want to do one at a time?
Let's just do them one at a time. It won't take but just a couple minutes extra to do that. And
Okay.
if there's any questions. then-
Okay, sure.
May we combine it with the AR for the same policy?
Yeah, we could.
I would so move them
Okay.
for the GBEA and GBEA-AR.
I second, okay. Christopher seconds.
I do have a question on step 1 of the AR, investigation procedure. What is that? It's in the parentheses, it says 5, but I can't read what it says up. It says keep.
It says keep, yes, so we didn't change the amount of time.
It was, we were.
Oh, keep the 5.
Keep the 5,
Okay,
Yeah, keep the
okay.
number 5.
Wait, I wasn't
Okay,
sure.
I
Yeah.
got it.
How does keep fit in that sentence?
Yeah.
Christopher had asked me the same exact question.
Within keep working days.
All right, so you're, the ones that say keep, you're keeping the parentheses that's not lying through.
Yes, yes.
Gotcha, okay. That was
It's
my
the new
only,
acronym, don't you know?
that was my only question, so. Did somebody move that we approve them?
I moved, yes,
And
moved and seconded.
Okay, so we've had on GBEA and GBEAAR, we have moved and seconded. All those in favor? Motion passes 4-0 with 1 abstention. GCDA, GDDA, the AR.
Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah.
And just for context, is this is just things that like OSBA is recommending they update, that's the impetus here, okay.
Some of these are legal requirements for
Right,
update,
right.
where an ORS has changed, and some of them are language changes. In your packet here, anything that is highlighted in gray is something that's changed from the previous version. And then obviously strike-throughs. Brackets are where we had to decide between different options. So sometimes it'll say like, you know,
Will.
determine who, and then we say, you know, school administrator or something to that effect. So, but we have a committee of 5,
So are 8
6,
and 9 both have just sort of X's through generally, does that mean they're completely gone?
yes.
Okay.
That
was a little.
In this particular policy, there were, I believe, 2 or 3 locations where we had to choose between 3 options. So you'll see 2 are crossed out because we chose
Gotcha.
another one.
Okay. And then keep is still there.
Keep is keep.
Keep.
Keep
So
as
there's
written.
nothing specific to our district that necessitated this, these are all.
No, these are, OSBA sends out the list, but it has a, kind of a thou shalt,
Right, right.
and, gee, we would like it if you would, and, if you have time. That's kind of how they make their recommendations.
So my question would be on number 7 and 8, is how did they come up with the fact that they wanted 7 as opposed to 8? Other than 8 also includes a national criminal records check based on fingerprints. And 7 doesn't. 7 just goes with the in-state criminal records check.
And that was up, if I look at that right, that was up to us
Yes.
to be able to make that determination.
That's in alignment with.
Yeah,
your
that's why I'm
policy.
asking, what was the thought with the policy committee going with 7 as opposed to 8?
Some of it was cost, some of it was time. If I remember correctly.
We also, yes, we looked at what the current policy is, on how we do that, and decided to go with that for volunteers and people working with us.
If you do a national background check, that can get expensive and time consuming.
And yeah, so some of, as you go through, some of them are for employees and some of them are for volunteers and contractors.
Yeah, this is for
So
volunteers.
for the volunteers,
Yeah.
we went with what the existing process is.
Okay.
Because that was one of the options and it's what we currently do. Do you have a request to change?
Well, I just have a concern that, you know, we're doing the national check on anybody else that's involved with them, even contractor employees, but not volunteers. I just, and, you know, the cost, yeah, you gotta keep the cost in mind too, but you also have to keep, the bottom line for me is the safety of everybody at the district.
Right.
And just doing an in-state criminal records check, it doesn't say if the person has to live in a state for X amount of time before they volunteer. So if they move to the state, say 6 months ago, and they volunteer for the district, there probably will be nothing on an in-state look at their record. But if they came from a different state where they possibly could have had problems for the last 40 years, you don't do the national criminal records check, then it gets under the radar. Or if they have a habit of moving from state to state.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I'm just
That's a
afraid
very
that we'll
valid
miss
concern.
something and then the liability comes back to the district. I don't care what it said in the last policy that we had. If we need to update the policy, I think we need to update the policy. And I think this one would be a good one, even though there's a little more cost to it. I think in the long run, because how many volunteers do we do this on? Probably not very many, I would think.
A lot.
A lot? Okay. What's the cost of the National Criminal Records check?
We do it through the Department of Education and they're $59 a piece.
Yeah.
For the Oregon, but if we went national.
Oh, the national one, I'm not sure. I can't answer.
Okay.
The volunteer checks are $7.
Even at that, I would still be in favor of changing number 7 to number 8 is all I'm saying. Is that so we don't miss somebody, they don't slip through the crack, you know, if they have a habit, or even if they don't have a habit, even if they just move from state to state every now and then, we could miss something that we need to check, and then who's going to be liable?
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yep.
not a good thing.
I guess, is this like urgent? Do we need to decide on this now, or would it be
Yeah.
possible to?
No, we can bring it back for a third reading.
Yeah.
I might just want to table it, and then if we're able to get like the exact number of people to apply to each year and what those cost. Not, I agree that safety is more important than cost, but I still want to be.
Well, cost is a one thing in the
You
equation.
know, it's gonna cost us.
You know, if it's gonna cost us $2,000 more to do it, well, okay, we'll look at that, but still, your safety is the bottom line, so. And the safety of all the personnel, whether it's students, staff, no matter who it is, I wanna keep everybody as safe as possible. And risk management,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
so
Yep, I agree.
that's.
So that's something we can discuss at our next policy meeting and try to gather those numbers of volunteers and find out what the cost would be. Because I'm guessing if the state one's $59, the national one is probably $100 or more, and we have over 100 volunteers.
So is this saying that volunteers don't get fingerprinted then?
They do not.
We do not, no,
Okay.
we do submit like our state driver's license information and something else, I can't recall. I've done it so many times, you'd think I would have the process memorized, but I don't remember exactly what information is required.
I know just, again, from work and discussions we've had, that there's a huge backlog in some of this with fingerprinting, and it's really impacting workforce issues. So I guess that's just and again, I'm not trying to, belittle
Well,
safety. I guess I just want to make sure that we don't do this and then all of a sudden have no volunteers because we can't get anyone fingerprinted within 8 months, and then the school year's over, and then we're not allowing. So just maybe that's something to consider, like what does that look like? Because I know especially like daycare centers and stuff, they're really struggling with
Well,
that.
but that's something we need to have in the discussion when we.
Yeah, just, I think I'm
Bring
just
this up to
adding
vote
to
again.
the, to.
Yeah,
things
no,
to-
I'm just saying they're all valid points,
Right.
it's just what's more important than the other, I guess, you know,
Right.
what trumps what, so.
Right.
Well, the other part of it that I'm thinking about is it not, can it be something in the middle between all or nothing?
Right.
So if there's a way that we discover, for instance, that somebody's lived in the state for ever, then it may be treated a little bit differently than somebody that's moved, or, I mean.
Well,
and-
maybe we put that language in there, if you lived in the state more than X amount of years, you're exempt from the national,
So we can look at all kinds of
but
possibilities, I
yeah,
think.
that's,
That would be good for
but we'll send
discussion.
that back to the policy committee, and they can,
Well, and additionally, people who live in Oregon can commit pretty heinous crimes outside of Oregon,
Yeah, yeah.
wouldn't show up on the Oregon criminal check necessarily.
And
Well-
those are all things I think are.
there's all kinds of different scenarios,
Yeah,
so.
so I appreciate that,
That's good.
absolutely,
Okay, so we're gonna table that one.
yes.
So we're gonna go to the
IGBA.
IGBA, I'm just a little slower than you are. Special education individualized Individualized Education Program, IEPs. So is there anything you want to
That one was pretty straightforward.
say
This
on
was
this
a
one?
very basic
Aaron?
language change.
Huh?
It was a very basic language change.
Okay,
Yeah, that
I didn't see anything with this one, so. Anybody want to make a motion?
I would move that we accept policy IGBAF as amended or
As proposed?
as proposed.
Okay, is there a second?
I second that.
Okay. Been moved and seconded that we approve IGBAF as proposed. All those in favor? Or do you have discussion, Chris?
What is the change? It looks like exactly the same. Including those who attend a public charters
Located,
Okay, all right.
yeah, it's like a
No, that's good. I
word
just, yeah,
spinning,
just wanted to make
yes.
sure. Okay, sorry. We're good.
Ready to vote.
Yes.
Okay. So, all those in favor? Okay, motion passes 4-0, one abstention. IGBBA, Talented and Gifted Program.
Wait, I'm sorry. Well, that's not.
Are you still back in IGBAF?
Yeah, I know we used to prove it, I'm sorry. It's just, I think it,
I believe that it just accidentally included that sentence twice, and you're removing.
okay, so we might need to redo that then. Because I think we just approved the same thing.
What's that?
IGBAF, the part that's crossed out is
Yeah.
then,
The original policy, I think there was a typo in the original policy that included that statement twice. So this update is to remove the one
okay.
comma and the duplicated entry of text.
okay,
Because they don't put what was removed and included again. It's just a typo that no one.
Well, it was probably listed in there twice the first time, and then just,
They're like, let's fix this time.
yeah.
There are a lot of things like that.
Yeah, because we can't just go back and delete something just because,
We have to
you know,
go
it's a,
over.
right, no,
it's a
yeah.
typo, so we have to approve without that language in there. So everybody's okay with the IGBAF then?
Yeah, let's see, it's in there twice.
Okay,
We're good? Okay, cool.
and we're on to the IGBBA, the Talented and Gifted Program, and Talented and Gifted Students Identification. So is this just kind of language cleanup?
It was a lot of, we're gonna take this sentence and move it to a different paragraph, and then we're gonna take this other sentence and move it to that paragraph. It's,
Okay, well, that's what it looked like, was just a lot of language cleanup and then deleting some stuff that might have been old.
The state is making some changes in their identification and service information, and so I don't think this is the last time that we will see that policy come forward to us.
Yeah. Always change.
So we clean it up once and then something else will change and we'll have to clean it up again.
Yeah. But I'd be willing to entertain a motion on those two policies.
Those two?
Well, there's IGBB
it's
and
one with two
IGBBA.
labels.
One of them is Talented and Gifted Program, and the other one is Talented and Gifted
Oh,
Students
gotcha. They're
Identification.
both in the same, sorry.
Yeah. So there is two separate policies.
Right. Sorry, I was,
Yeah, no,
somehow I
that's
missed
fine.
that it was two separate ones in the same. I so move.
I second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 4-0 with one abstention. JGAB. And that one is the use of restraint or seclusion. So just some cleanup in the wording, or is this,
What is the stuff that's highlighted?
the highlight, is that new
That's
language?
New
The highlighted
language.
is new language, okay.
Okay. Okay. What does CPI stand for?
Crisis Prevention Institute.
Oh, okay.
It's one of the formalized programs that's offered for training, and the folks that have gone through a certification program, one of the questions they ask if you have to restrain a student is has that person been trained or have they not? And that's that's the licensure entity we've used.
Can we put that out in the whole word as
Yep.
opposed to the acronym?
Yep.
So that people like me will understand what it means?
Yes.
So. Yeah.
Well, I would move that we,
What do they got to do with this? What was that?
I would move that we approve this policy with the change to expand the acronym out to the full title that Rick requested.
Okay. Right here, second.
I'll second.
Okay, been moved and seconded to approve JGAB with the one change to spell that out. So all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes 4-0 with one abstention. And superintendent evaluation, which we already covered, so meeting closure, school board updates and information. I think we've covered most of that already through the meeting. Board thanks.
I would like to, as always, thank the,
I just want to, Jackson, this is a part where, and he can participate in this. That's, yeah. The board thanks is where the board just gives thanks to whatever they want through the district, you know, and if you know of something that got done, then you can, you know, chime in and say whatever you want to on it. So don't be bashful.
Thank you guys for being so welcoming and helpful.
Okay, appreciate that.
I've got one. It's
Okay.
actually, it's two, but it's for the same people. So I just, as always, like to extend my thanks to the amazing, amazing teachers who run the drama programs at the various schools. The high school production was a success. It was so wonderful. I heard nothing but praise from the audience. And then the middle school just wrapped auditions and posted cast lists and had their first rehearsal today. So my deep appreciation to all of the people involved in that, including the parents and family members and community members who volunteer. It is so much work to put on these productions. As somebody who has spent hundreds of hours painting sets and building things for various productions over the last 15, 16 years, well, maybe not that long. I want to extend my thanks for that. So thank you, guys.
Okay, and you can bring more than one thing if you want to, and if you don't have anything, you don't have to throw anything out there. Don't feel that you have to, but I just want to make sure that you realize that you could throw things out in this section, so. Okay, anybody else got word thanks?
I just want to thank staff at all levels, administrative, licensed, classified, dealing with all of the illness that's going on right now and all the challenges that come with trying to educate our students under massive stress. And we're still doing pretty good.
I guess, yeah, this is sort of generic, but I think just, I'm thanking basically everyone in the district. I think it's been a wonderful experience to now sort of see the district from this side after, you know, seeing it from a different side for what, like 14 years. Obviously we have work to do, but I want to thank everyone here because I am still incredibly proud to not only be from this district, but now get to help lead it. So just thanks for making that possible.
Yeah, I'm gonna sound like a broken record again, but thanks to everybody who works in this district and makes it the best district that it is. You know, it doesn't make any difference who you are, whether you're a volunteer, paid, you know, teacher, classified, administrator, everybody. And I want to thank the production of the high school. I actually did go to that And no, I didn't go to sleep in the middle of it either. I thought it was very good.
I'm
you know.
pretty sure my Sharpay would have been highly insulted had you fallen asleep.
And I want to thank Jackson for volunteering for this position, because it's kind of like the rest of us, probably a pretty thankless job that, you know, he just gets to take a lot of grief over before he gets done with it. He's smiling now, but we'll check in June and see what it looks like.
Well, he's gonna surprise us all, because we talked about when we met last week, what are the things that he can think of that the high school especially wants to bring forward and make sure the board knows. So
Yeah, well,
we'll have some good opportunity to hear.
that's what he's here for.
Yep.
And want to thank everybody that participated with the facilities assessment, that little committee that we had to go around and look at everything, and come up with what we did. And now it's in the process, you know, of Joey going through and, you know, doing his thing. And, you know, it's sad that the sewer connection came up as fast as it did. I mean, we were aware of it, but we were hoping to get through the summertime, but you know, it is what it is, and sometimes you just got to deal with it before you want to.
And I'd love to tag on to that, just thank Joey and his entire team, because I know they're putting in a lot of extra work to get that assessment written up for us so that we can review it. So I very much appreciate all of that.
Well, they've been doing a lot of extra on everything,
Oh, yeah.
as we've seen by going through the buildings and seeing what's been done and what is being done and things like that, so.
Jennifer and I actually met with Joey the other day, and he had the beginnings of the information, and he was looking to portray it in a different way. So after the first of the calendar year, we'll be ready to get together again with a small group. So that's already very much in process and done. It's just a way to look at it, so.
Okay, well, that's all that I have, so. Next meeting is January 19th, I think so, yeah, let's see.
We're back to 19th,
right? Back to Thursday.
Yeah. So, and hopefully by then we will be able to, not that we want more meeting time or anything, but the executive session will be able to meet in that and get some things done there.
And I believe that our technology committee will have some updates. And so they'll be able to share a report with us in January.
Okay.
For our technology staff, excuse me.
Oh, okay, right. So, hearing nothing more?
This isn't for the next meeting agenda, but I would like to request that we determine a date to have the trimester versus semester conversation that was mentioned in the superintendent's report.
I think
To have a work group. for
right,
that.
we needed to
And I'll
contact.
connect with Lynn and company and make sure that we've got some available dates to throw out.
Yeah.
And we can get, no, I appreciate that, and we can get it on the docket.
And I would very much love it if we gave enough of a heads up for some research to happen over at high school with some students and hear some of their voices and bring their opinions to that work group.
Well, I think that they have a heads up as of right now that it's coming, so they should start working on it now, and so they'll be prepared when it does come up in January.
Will this be a public work session, or will we just have 2 board members there?
No, it'd be a public work
public
session, it'd be all 5 of us.
Yeah, so I would anticipate that may be a meeting, well, I would encourage people to be there to become informed, because I think that's the biggest part of it is people just want information and to understand to help us make a good decision.
Yeah.
So,
That's what I want.
yeah. And, you know, who knows, we could come up with this is it, that is it, or we could come up with a happy medium that's kind of got a little bit of both that, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, it's
So bring
wide
your-
open for discussion.
Yeah, wide open.
Open minds and creative hats.
Yep.
Yeah,
To protect our open minds.
so
Elements.
any more comments or anything? All right, we'll adjourn the meeting.
Awesome.
And thank you for showing up, appreciate it.
And Jackson, let me know if you want to talk about any of the outreach to the students about trimester, semester, if you need any ideas.
This one?
Actually, probably-
Minutes.
Except he'll be out of the country.
Yeah, don't talk to me.
just sign it.
but-
Yep, just sign it. Thank you.
All right, good to see you, bud.
Thank you. Then I'll connect with you. See,
Which time?
I have some money for you. If we can get some dates. The other thing I don't know if you saw, but